Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another SEMA webinar. Hey, I'm Phil McGrath, Vice President of Business Development for the Association, and I'll be the host for today. Today, we have Dan Lohman presenting for us. Dan is a CPG and natural industry strategic advisor. With 25 years of industry experience, he provides solutions to challenges that brands and retailers face. His Brand Secrets and Strategy podcast is a popular natural products accelerator for food startups, healthy brands, and retailers. And today, Dan is going to be talking to us about trade marketing strategies that grow sales and profits. And as he describes it, trade marketing includes everything needed to promote your brand. So on a side note, Dan has been a wonderful supporter of the association throughout the years it's been in existence, and he is also a certified professional strategic advisor through the CMA certification program. So we're thrilled to have Dan on today, and I know that he's going to provide some very insightful commentary about the world of trade marketing. Now, if you have any questions today, please be sure to enter them into the chat box. We're going to hold asking the questions until the end of Dan's presentation, but you can enter the questions as they come to mind, and we'll have them assimilated here so that we can provide them to Dan afterwards. So with that, I'm going to turn the mic over to Dan, and Dan, you now have the floor.
I appreciate it. Thanks for the introduction. I want to thank the CMA, first of all, for inviting me to spend time with you. This is the first part of a three-part trade marketing webinar series. We're going to begin at the 30,000-foot level with this webinar and drill down in future webinars. This webinar is geared to your brands to helping you better understand and manage your trade marketing. Some of the terms and content may be obvious to large brands, but I encourage you to have an open mind as I will show you new ways to leverage these strategies to grow your brand, gain additional runway, and help you stand out on a crowded shelf. More about me. I've had the privilege of working with startups, of emerging brands from pre-revenue all the way up to multi-billion-dollar brands. I was classically trained in category management back when this started by Unilever and Kimberly-Clark. In fact, I even developed some of the advanced reporting tools that Spins now sells, including the distribution tracker, which is incremental in getting them to sell more retailer data and store-level data. Over 80% of natural brands fail within the first year. I'm committed to change that. This includes teaching brands the advanced strategies that big brands rely on, category management. We also have a lot to share today, so I want you to be prepared to take some notes. So let's start with trade marketing. What is trade marketing? Its real purpose is to introduce your brand to a shopper. That's it, period. Not to reward current shoppers or existing customers for buying your product. Now that's nice, but that's not the focus of what we want to try to accomplish with our trade marketing. So why does this matter? Trade marketing typically represents the single largest line item on a brand's income statement. Trade marketing represents about 25% of a brand's gross revenue. 70 to 90% of your trade marketing, however, is wasted or ineffective. I'll explain what that means in a minute. I'm going to reference a lot of podcast episodes to add context to our discussion. You can listen to the podcast on my website, brandsecretsandstrategies.com, or anywhere you get your podcast. Just look for my iconic light bulb. My website is dedicated to be a resource to help you get your products on more store shelves and into the hands of more shoppers. I offer these resources as my way of giving back. As Phil mentioned, at the end, you're going to have an opportunity to submit questions that I'll answer. So I'd love to hear your thoughts and how I can help. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. I'm here to help. So the problem is that today's competitive environment mandates advanced strategies that many companies overlook. Without solid strategy and execution, being discontinued is just a matter of time. Getting this right can add rocket fuel to your brand sales. Failure, however, to get this right can be catastrophic. All brands struggle with this, literally every brand. This webinar series will help answer some of the most pressing questions you have. I've been doing this for a long time, and I've had the privilege of working with and mentoring with hundreds of brands in every category across every channel. They share the most pressing challenges with me, your challenges. Years ago, I developed a strategy that I've been perfecting over time. This strategy has allowed me to push around some of the largest and most iconic brands in the world. It's helped me and my clients gain a significant and sustainable competitive advantage, and they can work for you. On my Brand Secrets and Strategies podcast, CEOs and industry thought leaders help to validate these strategies in addition to candidly sharing their insider secrets and advice. Let's face it, retail is expensive. It's pay to play. Brands are taught that they need to be continually raising money to pay for distribution, promotions, etc. They are taught to hire broker, agency, and distributors to manage and grow their brands. The cookie cutter strategies that they use do not differentiate your brand from your competition. Shouldn't your go to market strategy be as creative as your brand? I am a firm believer that brands need to own their strategy, including their go to market strategy, and all of that should remain in house. It should not be farmed out. Leveraging these strategies with your broker partners to maximize each and every selling opportunity is the greatest opportunity that you have to grow sales and help retailers gain more foot traffic. This is the focus of all my content. No two retailers are alike. If you don't get your brand in the right store, in the right shelf, in the right location, shoppers won't find it. Simply put, or put another way, shoppers can't buy your products if they can't find them. In addition, brands are not taught how to build a solid go-to-market strategy or how to guide their brokers to help drive profitable sales. Most brands fail as a result, and I'm committed to change that. Retailers generically don't make anything. They sell real estate in the form of the space that your product takes up on their shelf. Retailers want three things: a competitive advantage in their market, more shoppers in their store, and a reasonable profit. Brands that can help retailers achieve their goals will gain a significant advantage over their competitors. To be successful, you need to know how the retail game is played. In podcast episode 136, The Retail Game, What You Need to Know with Bob Burke of Natural Products Consulting, we talk about how to build a thriving brand and avoid the pitfalls and that derail and even bankrupt most brands. This podcast episode is a snippet of a free mini course by the same name. Retail's pay to play, like I said. And like any game, you need to know the rules. The better you know the rules, the more effective your selling strategy can exploit your sales and profits. Your creativity can then give you a significant and sustainable competitive advantage. So why do brands have so little to say? You do have a choice, but you need to know what's required and you need to understand how to maximize each and every selling opportunity first. Let me explain. There's a pervasive destructive mindset among brands. And that mindset is that you're told that there's only one way to sell your products in retail. You're told that promotions are the only way to get customers to buy your brand. That's not true. The reality is that the tired old strategies that worked for your grandfather will not work today. Retail has changed and so has the shopper. And by the way, this is a big reason why category management started, was to change the way that we work with retailers to help align our products or help get our products in the hands of more shoppers. Retailers are under tremendous competitive threats. They need to remain relevant. In order to do that, they need to learn how to put their customer first. So what I mean by that? Mainstream retailers and brands tend to commoditize the shopper. They tend to lump all of us into buckets that overlook what makes us unique. Have you ever gotten a great deal on a product you didn't like? Natural shoppers don't want to be sold. They want quality products that deliver exceptional value. They are not swayed by gimmicks and deep discounts. Does this sound familiar to you? For example, mainstream companies believe that Aloha shopper is someone who eats a couple of salads and goes for a walk. Aloha shopper is a lifestyle of health and sustainability. The Aloha shopper will not settle. They choose quality above all else, among other things like reducing their carbon footprint and supporting mission-based brands. These are your ideal customers. My point is this: the Aloha shopper is the ideal shopper because these shoppers are not price sensitive. These shoppers will go out of their way to find the products that best meet their needs, that they can know, like, and trust and share with their family. The best way retailers can grow sales is to partner with brands that are capable of driving traffic and sales in their stores. Before this can happen, brands need to become an expert in their customers. This is the focus of podcast episode 129, Knowing Your Core Customer is Critical to Your Success at Retail, with Ethan Hirschberg of Ethan's. Now, in this podcast episode, we discussed the importance of knowing exactly who your core customer is, the same way you know your best friends. Most brands overlook this. Knowing who your ideal shoppers will give you a distinct competitive advantage. Remember, your shoppers want to know that you matter to them. And when is the last time you showed your appreciation? Let me explain what I mean. In this industry, I remember when I started out, I was taught that your ideal shopper was female, had a household, 2.3 kids. What I'm suggesting is you go way beyond that. How does your customer use your product? How do they evangelize it? How do they use it when they take it home? Are they very engaged in their community? Do they get into yoga? Do they have kids? I mean, try to understand everything you possibly can about the unique customer and what's unique about them. Why do they choose your product over the competition, etc. Traditional ways of thinking means that retailers are continually trying to reacquire the same customer over and over again. This is not sustainable, especially for small brands. Wouldn't it be better and more effective to convert occasional customers into loyal evangelists? Brands that help retailers achieve their objectives will reap rewards. Savvy retailers may give you incremental opportunities not available to other brands. I know this well because this is exactly how I gain a huge competitive advantage, resulting sometimes in huge double-digit growth quarter after quarter, among other things, against the brands I competed against. I share several of these stories on my podcast. Traditional retail is expensive, and most brands are at an unfair competitive disadvantage. That needs to change. What has your experience been? The simple reality is that shoppers that your brand attract are far more valuable to the retailer than the ingredients in your package. You should never have to apologize for using the best clean label ingredients. The strategies I focus on are leveraged to help you get your products on more store shelves and into the hands of more shoppers, empowering brands and raising the bar. Remember, everything is negotiable, especially in this industry. Savvy retailers know this, and they may trade this in lieu of slotting and other fees they charge other brands. The myth is that retailers hold all the power in this relationship, and I want to challenge that notion that they hold all the power. Most brands feel like an ATM machine, as though everyone has their hand out. Does that sound familiar? If so, you're not alone. Retail is broken. Let's fix it by aligning the shopper with the brands that they know, like, and trust. Let's encourage brands to help drive their unique shopper into the stores that make those shoppers a priority. The shopper journey has changed. Shoppers today have virtually unlimited choices when it comes to where they spend their hard-earned money. Everyone is fighting for their attention. Retailers need and want to remain relevant. So what do I mean by relevant? There are a lot of competitive threats in the market. As a customer, I have virtually unlimited choices in where I go to shop. Wouldn't it make more sense if we could help that retailer remain relevant to me, the customer, and have me continue to come back into the store to buy and more over and over and over again, also to evangelize about the products, about that store, etc., as opposed to inviting me to go to your competition, even online. You continually hear that price is the only thing that drives customers to make a buying decision. This is simply not true. If it were, then luxury and decadent items would all be declining in sales, which they are not. This is one of the myths that we need to squash. The core natural shopper, your shopper, does not want to be sold. They do not want to buy products that, they want to buy, sorry about that. They want to buy products that meet and exceed their needs. They want products that they know, like, and trust. The core natural shoppers are less price sensitive than traditional shoppers. They choose quality over price, and they evangelize the products that deliver exceptional value. So you're probably thinking to yourself, but my product costs more than other brands. I believe that one of the biggest failings in our industry is that we don't celebrate the true value of the products we sell. Consider this. If I eat the cheap generic bread, then I'm hungry almost immediately after. If I eat the best mainstream bread, then I may be satiated for a couple hours. However, if you are what you eat, and if you believe that what you eat matters, then if I eat the organic bread, you may be satiated even longer. The point is that for a few cents more at shelf, the organic bread might be a better value for you in the long run than you eat less of it. This is true because organic bread provides more of the nutrients that your body needs. Have you ever tried this approach? This is one of the strategies that I focus on throughout my podcast and everything I talk about, leveraging the unique attributes within those products, whether it be gluten-free, plant-based, etc., to help drive sustainable sales across every category. The point is this. Those customers that buy those products, that know, like, and trust and understand what's unique about those products, are the customers that you want to continue to drive into your store. The reality is that retailers need brands as much as brands need retailers. You need to help your retail partner grow sales by leveraging the unique shopper that your brand attracts. Your brand is a reflection of you and has your name on it. From the consumer's point of view, any out of stocks, pricing, merchandising issues are your fault, not the retailers, brokers, etc. It embarrasses the retailer when you fail this and you jeopardize your relationship with them. You cannot take this for granted. You need to work with the retailer to improve customer journey. Use every opportunity to educate the retailer about your unique shopper, customer trends, and more. Use this as an opportunity to differentiate your brand from the competition. This simple strategy will pay huge dividends over time. As I mentioned, I know this well because these are the strategies that I was able to leverage with all the different brands I've worked with. The point being is this. A lot of times retailers will reach out to me and ask me, even though I wasn't in that category, to help guide them and help them grow sustainable sales within a specific category that was adjacent to or even an unrelated category. Or they would ask me to validate another brand's presentations. In-store demos are a great way to build a personal relationship with your core customers. This was the focus of podcast episode 126, a well-defined business strategy that will add rocket fuel to your growth with Dustin Finkel at K-Pop. In this episode, Dustin shares what he learned about his shoppers, how that helped him educate retailers, and how it helped him remain connected with his raving fans. One of the best parts about this podcast episode is we talk about how you can leverage that to gain real insights about how your customers use your products, how they use it after they take it home. In podcast episode 122, what retailers really want, brand building success strategies with Mathis Martinez of M2 Brands, formerly of the National Natural Category Manager for Kroger. This podcast episode is a snippet of a free course by the same name. In that podcast episode, we talk about how to leverage the secret sales success that retailers really want. Retailers want what they want. Make certain that you address their needs first. You can begin with these strategies after you build rapport and never start working with them. Remember, retailers want to be respected. Learn how to speak the language. This is one of the things that I think as an industry we need to work a lot harder at. As a former grocery manager, I learned what retailers wanted, and I learned how to speak their language. So for example, the result was one occasion, while working for a national chip brand, regional chip brand, I earned a 4,900 unit chip display in a superstore grand opening, where the biggest brand in the category couldn't even get a single end cap. I share more about this story in episode 68, Secret 68 Proven Strategies to Grow Sales, Stand Out on a Crowded Shelf, and 2 times Your Loyal Shoppers with Daniel Lohman of Brand Secrets and Strategies. We need to shift the mindset. So your creativity is your greatest asset. So the 3 strategies to shift your mindset are, 1, it's all about relevance. Talked a little bit about that earlier. How do you help the retailer remain relevant by leveraging the unique strength of your brand? 2, data is the star of your story. And then 3, stay on top. Top stands for thorough, organized, and proactive. The shift in mindset that needs to take place includes developing a collaborative relationship between brands and retailers. As I mentioned, it's all about relevance. Shoppers have unlimited options when it comes to where they spend their hard-earned money. These strategies will teach you how to stop reacting or reacquiring the same customer over and over again. On podcast episode 138, Secrets 138, Cultivating Your Future Customers with Nona Evans of Whole Foods Market, Whole Kids, and Whole Cities, we talked about this in depth. Nona was the marketing director for Whole Foods. She shared that they paid $270 to acquire a shopper. Can you imagine that? What does it cost to acquire your customer? You hear them talk about this on Shark Tank all the time. My point is, the cost of acquiring a customer can be pretty high, but the cost of nurturing that customer and converting them from an occasional customer into a loyal evangelist, that's priceless. I'm a firm believer that nobody should ever hand the keys of their business away to anyone. And this begins with owning your go-to-market strategy and how you execute it. I believe that all your strategy needs to be developed and managed by you, the brand. At the very least, you need to have a working knowledge of how things work so that you can know what's possible. You're limited by your imagination. And then 2, you need to be able to oversee the processes and the systems that are your growth engine. Leveraging your broker, agency, and distributors to execute your brand strategy on your behalf is the single best way to elevate or to explode your sales. I believe that you need to keep your hand firmly on the rudder of your ship. You put all your love, passion, creativity, heart, and soul into your brand. Shouldn't your go-to-market strategy be every bit as creative? This is how you become more than just another package on a retailer's shelf. This is how you become a trusted and respected retail partner. How do you differentiate yourself from your competition? Data should be the star of your story. You need to know your numbers. And of course, that's why we're all here in terms of category management professionals. Savvy retailers already know how well your brand is performing on the shelf. They do not need another canned top-line report, the same canned top-line reports that your customers share, only with your unique spin. Retailers want insights, actionable insights that they do not get from other brands. So what does that look like? Before we can answer that question, we need to know a little bit about the different kinds of data, how they work, and why they matter. Not all data is the same. Buying the wrong data is a huge waste of money. You need to know how data works, and then once you know how that works, then that will help you answer these important questions. For example, if you want to know how natural products are selling in the Denver natural stores, none of the syndicated databases can help answer that question. You can, however, answer that question through shopper marketing data. Where does data come from, and what kinds of data are out there? There's syndicated data and shopper marketing data. Now, most of us use syndicated data on a regular basis, and that's historical data, what already happened, and that comes from Spins, Nielsen, and IRI. It's retailer point of sale data that's cleaned up to make it easier to analyze. Shopper marketing data, which is something that I know the CMA is really getting involved in, which I'm so excited about, is extremely impactful and useful. If you know how to use it properly, shopper marketing data can answer the questions that you really need answers to. For example, why what happened happened, or why do shoppers make the choices they do? Shopper market data is survey data. Shopper marketing data is survey data. Using syndicated data and shopper marketing data is the best way to tell your brand story. This is where a talented category management professional is worth their weight in gold. Have you ever wondered where the category management evolved or where it came from? Actually, I do, because I was a part of this, as Phil mentioned, years ago. So things in natural are similar to the way they started in mainstream, and I try to make this comparison a lot. Category management was born out of the desire to weed out the inefficiencies and excess costs that plague natural brands today. I'm the first person certified at the highest level category management proficiency, like Phil said. Big brands rely heavily on the advanced strategies found in these true category management. These are the strategies I teach. These strategies will teach you how to maximize the insights from syndicated data and shopper market data. These strategies will help you level the playing field between you and the most sophisticated brands out there. As I mentioned earlier, one of the things I think we need to do as an industry, though, is not rely so heavily on what I call push-button category management. This means going well beyond the canned top-line reports and understanding what are the key drivers behind why do consumers make the choices they make. Category management is fact-based storytelling. Learn how to tell a story with data. This is what retailers really want. So why does this matter? I'll give you an example. I had the privilege of writing a feature article for the 2016 Category Management Handbook. I wanted to prove a theory I had. I wanted to prove that natural products are responsible for all sustainable growth across every category. I had the opportunity to work with Nielsen in this project to be able to use their data. Anyhow, when I got into the data, I was right. And this should be part of your selling story, leveraging the strength of your brand to help retailers understand why it's unique and different, not just another commodity or another brand on the shelf. Let me help frame this. Total dairy was up 1.5%. Organic dairy was up 12.1%. Organic dairy represented only 9.8% of a multi-billion-dollar pie. In the absence of organic, total dairy was only at 0.5%. These results are even more dramatic with gluten-free, plant-based, keto, and etc. You can download the feature article on every podcast page on my website. The point is that natural or better for you brands do more to drive sustainable sales, category sales, than your mainstream counterparts. The reason this is so important is it's because this is what the mainstream retailers want. They want that unique customer that gets it, that understands what these products offer, the know, like, and trust factor, the promise of trust, etc. And what I'm getting at is if you can help your retail partners leverage these strategies on shelf, that'll give you a significant competitive advantage. And when we start talking about trade marketing, I've got a lot of strategies on how you can leverage that within your retail partners. This is the kind of story, this is the kind of story you need to share with retailers. On a side note, I have yet to see a syndicated database accurately reflect the way customers shop, your customers. Adding this or fixing this will add a rocket fuel to your sales and profits. This is my secret sauce. And what I'm getting at is that the syndicated databases are set up in a way that fits the old model, the model that, if you will, that we used to use. I'm recommending that if you know, like, and trust, if you really understand your customers and you really understand how they buy their products, by changing or updating or modifying or augmenting the syndicated data that you're buying to leverage it, to really understand how consumer buys, why they buy, what they choose, etc., that's going to help you out a lot. You're told that sales velocity is the only thing that matters to retailers. That's not true. Brands with deep pockets can buy sales, but that's not sustainable, and it pulls valuable profits from the category. Natural brands should never be able to compete on sales velocity alone, and nor should you. There's a better way to tell your story using data. This is the focus of several podcast episodes and the courses I teach. For example, I would focus on contribution. How much profit are you really driving to the category? You need to stay on top of things. To stay on top of things, you need to have a system in place that will keep you and your team organized better than a spreadsheet would. So TOP stands for thorough, organized, and proactive. The number one reason most brands fail is poor retail execution. This is at the heart of your top strategy. What gets measured gets done. When you're small, using spreadsheets, scorecards, etc., to measure and manage your brand makes tremendous sense. As you grow, you should increase your reporting capabilities so that you can quickly outgrow a spreadsheet. So having the right tools in place to help you grow are critical to your success. Most brands tend to overlook the details behind the strategies due to inefficient systems and processes. This gets more complicated as your business grows. It's hard to hit a target that's not well defined. More importantly, how do you know if you hit the target that you don't know you're aiming for? My point is this. You need to understand how trade marketing works. You need to know the mechanics of it, the ins and outs of it, so that you can leverage this as you're working with those systems that commoditize the data, that take the data and spit out the canned reports. Canned reports, by the way, are a great starting place. I built my career or established myself as being able to build a lot of those, and I built a lot of those for a lot of my clients and the companies I worked for. But we need to go beyond that, and that's what these strategies in this webinar series are about. To me, this all goes back to the brand's go-to-market strategy and how robust and how complete it is. Having the right systems in place can be a valuable time saver and can save a lot of money. This is exactly why I partnered with the CMA on these webinars. In podcast episode 119, Why Most Brands Fail, the Roadmap to Sales Success, Tim Forrest, from Tim Forrest Consulting, we talk about the importance of a retail execution. Flawless retail execution of your brand strategy is critical to your survival. And this is something that I see a lot of brands overlook. And what I'm getting at is a lot of brands think that the selling stops as soon as the product leaves the back room of the distribution center. Not true. That's where the selling starts. This podcast is an episode of a free mini course by the same name. The bottom line is, you must be sharper than ever to succeed at retail. When I started my career, we received binders with presentations in them. The brands expected us to share the entire deck with each retailer. Sound familiar? Most brands still do this today, only digitally. Here's the problem with that. We all share the brand story in our voices, leaving out key points that we think are irrelevant or unimportant. You know the game where I tell you a story and you share it with someone else and so on? By the time the story comes back around to me, it's unrecognizable. Your brand story needs to be told with the same passion, enthusiasm, and authenticity as originally told by the founder across every part of your sales funnel. That includes with your internal and your external sales teams, including your brokers, distributors, etc. This is exactly why I created the free turnkey sales story strategies course, to teach brands how to build a healthy foundation to grow their brand on. This is the focus of podcast episode 52, Secrets 52, Selling Secrets from a Master Storyteller, with John Sebastiani, Sonoma Brands, Crave, and Smashmile. John shares how he used the romance of storytelling to make Crave a dominant player in the meat snacks category. The Achilles heel of big brands, along with most of your competitors, is that they overlook this important strategy. This needs to be the foundation you build your brand on. And by the way, on a side note, this is one of the strategies I use to be able to compete more effectively against all the brands I used to push around when I worked for Kimberly-Clark, Unilever, etc. The point is this. A lot of brands don't execute effectively at every single store, on every single part of the sales funnel. Any brand that's able to execute at an extremely high level is going to have a significant and sustainable competitive advantage. This is the focus of podcast episode 105. Secrets 105, Brand Secrets. Brands need to have a clear and compelling message that resonates with shoppers with annual limited brand secrets and strategies. In this podcast episode, I share why this matters and how this strategy has been a game changer for me and my clients. This begins with your brand story. Your brand story needs to be told the same authenticity, passion, enthusiasm as told by the founder across your entire sales funnel. I've said this before. This is not easy to do on your own. You got to remember, retail is a marathon, not a sprint. You need to surround yourself with the right people who can help you achieve your objectives. If there are any holes in your game, find outside help and experts to help fill those gaps. In an earlier slide, I referenced the importance of retail execution. Most brands, as I mentioned, believe that the selling ends as soon as the product leaves your warehouse. The reality is that selling never stops. It extends well beyond after the shopper takes the product home with them and shares it with their friends and family. Your retail strategy needs to extend well beyond the checkout lane. You need to work to bake this into your go-to-market strategy. Nurture your shoppers better than other brands. This is how you convert occasional customers into loyal evangelists. If you think about it, shoppers only want one thing. A couple things. They want to be respected, they want to be trusted, and they want to be able to get what they want. And if you can help a retailer help a brand, if you can help a customer achieve what they want, get what they want, then that's the easiest way to convert them from an occasional customer into loyal evangelists. So let me ask you, how do you connect your customers, with your shoppers? How's it different from other brands, from your competition? Let me know in the Q&A. There's an African proverb that sums this up nicely. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Everyone needs help from time to time. This is where your broker partner and industry experts can make a huge impact on your brand. One of the things that makes natural are that all these amazing resources are available to you, like this webinar series and the podcast and my new YouTube channel. Share these resources with your friends as well as many other brands that you want to help grow sales with. Knowing where and how to find the best possible resources is how you differentiate yourself from the competition. Who do you turn to when you have questions that keep you up late at night? Remember, my podcast is a free audio natural products accelerator. Start there, and remember, I'm always here to help. So a couple of case studies. The importance of choosing the right resources. Sometimes the ideal resource for one brand may not be the ideal resource for another brand. There's a lot to consider here. There's a great example in podcast episode 132, Choosing the Wrong Expert Jeopardizes Your Brand, with Jeff from Bubba's Fine Foods. In that podcast episode, Jeff was told that he needed a master broker. Well, the master broker did a phenomenal job of getting their brand on store shelves all the way across country. The challenge is that they didn't take the time to understand what the brand's needs were, what the brand could support, and how the brand needed to grow their sales slowly, sustainably, etc. As a result, the brand wasn't able to support all the different retailers that they gained new distribution in, and it almost bankrupted the brand. My point is this: there needs to be a collaboration. You need to have an honest conversation between the brand, the broker, the retailer, everybody involved to help everyone succeed on behalf of the shopper that you're trying to support. Another example, I was working with a brand several years ago, and the brand was actually merchandised in several different areas at several different stores. The point is this: customers coming in to buy their products couldn't find it where they went to go shopping. So by helping the brand identify where their core customer looks for the product and then get it into the right location where every customer could find it, we were able to take the brand from less than a couple $100,000 to $800,000 the first year, and within the end of the next year, they're at over $3 million. So why is this important? In podcast episode 140, Trade Marketing Secrets that Grow Sales and Profits with Daniel Lohman from Brand Secrets and Strategies. This is actually me giving a live keynote address to a trade marketing group. And my point is this: if you leverage these strategies and you get your product in the right place and you get the right people around you, surrounding you, and you're able to tell the right effective story, then you have the opportunity to understand what are the best promotional vehicles. And back at that slide where I was talking about you do have a choice, if you understand what promotions make the most sense to you, then you can work with the retailers, your brokers, your distributors, etc., to identify and craft the best strategies to move your brand forward. For example, if a retailer says, I need you to promote 7 times a year, instead of just blindly writing a check and saying, here you go, instead you might say, you know what, I can't do that at the level you want me to. However, I can do a much deeper promotion these 3 times, And during these 3 promotions, I can buy incremental things like 4 displays and et cetera, in terms of what they're gonna do to drive sales. In addition to all the media and the social media support, et cetera, to help drive customers into stores. My point is this: by understanding these nuances, by understanding the nuts and bolts of trade marketing, this is where you help become more than just another brand on a crowded shelf. I go more into depth in this and on this topic in that podcast episode. And I also share more of these stories in other podcast episodes, my YouTube channel, and these are all in the courses I teach. My point is this: choosing the wrong expert or not working effectively within your constraints, your budget, etc., can bankrupt or derail your brand. This is why you need to know understand your brand. You need to know your customers, and you need to be able to know your competitors' customers. And then you need to be able to align that honestly with authenticity, etc., with the retailers you're trying to support. Retailers want to be successful, and they want to be successful with your brand, and they want to know that if they put your product on their shelves, then they're going to grow reasonable category profits. Leverage these strategies to help the retailer compete more effectively. In summary, we need to change the mindset. Brands and retailers need each other. We all rise together. This is at the heart of natural. Becoming a category leader for your retail partners. By my definition, a category leader is any brand willing and able to step up and help guide their retail partner grow sustainable sales by leveraging the strength of the unique customer, the unique shopper that you attract. The 3 strategies, it's all about relevance. Brands need to develop a collaborative relationship with retailers to drive traffic in their stores and keep them coming back. Remember, the cost of reacquiring a customer is expensive. If it's cheaper, it's easier, it's better, it's more effective if you can help convert that occasional customer into a loyal evangelist. Number 2, data is the star of your story. A retailer can gain a significant and sustainable competitive advantage by leveraging the strengths of their brand partners. This is where you come in. This is how you help the retailer remain relevant. Most brands overlook the power of the category management. Commit to learning the strategies that give your brand a significant and sustainable competitive advantage. As I mentioned, this means going well beyond canned top-line reports, understanding why what happened happened, be able to demonstrate and illustrate why the contribution that your brand provides to the category is far more valuable. Oh, and more importantly, how does the customer that buys your product align with other customers? How do they buy products across other stores? So instead of focusing on a single item, as we're taught to do, focus on the entire market basket and work backwards. What are the other complementary things that those shoppers pick up and put in their market basket? And then develop complementary promotional strategies with those. Number 3, stay on top. Thorough, organized, and proactive. There's a lot more to data than printing canned top-line reports. Trust me, retailers are not impressed by brands that share useless reports that contain no actionable insights. This is just a waste of ink and paper. I don't know if I mentioned, but I used to be a grocery manager years ago, and a lot of brands would come to me and say, look at me, I printed this out, aren't you impressed? The reality is, savvy retailers already know how well your brand's performing on their shelf. There are a lot of insights, a lot of facts, and a lot of things that they can't get out of the reports that they have at their fingertips. This is where the brands need to help partner with the retailers to help guide and support them. And this is where you can leverage all of the resources in your funnel, including your brokers, distributors, etc., to help the retailer remain relevant, drive profitable sales in the category, compete more effectively in the market, etc. Remember, retailers want actionable insights that will help them increase shopper traffic in their stores, gain a competitive advantage, and give them a reasonable profit. This needs to be the primary focus of all your systems and processes. This needs to be baked into your go-to-market strategy. And as I mentioned, this needs to be communicated in the same voice as everyone on your team throughout your entire sales funnel. Remember, the goal here is to get your products onto more store shelves and into the hands of more shoppers, empowering brands and raising the bar. As I mentioned, there will be 2 more webinars that'll follow this. And in those webinars, we'll get into specific tips and tactics. One of the things, just kind of a teaser that I had the opportunity to do, is when I was working for Unilever and Kimberly-Clark, I had access to virtually unlimited resources in terms of the trade marketing, understanding the data, understanding the consumer that bought the products, etc. And I was able to build some reports that I'm told are still in use today in some places. My point is this: the better you understand this, the more effectively you understand this, the more runway you're going to have, the more effective you're going to be at attracting the customer, the better you're going to be able to help your retail partner remain relevant. And as a side note, one of the things I was able to do with some of these resources and some things that I was able to accomplish before, I was able to help renegotiate the menu fees, the menu structure within a retailer so that we could help them grow sustainable sales in a category. So we went from being, if you will, a commodity to being a value add for that retailer. And that retailer became one of the dominant players in the category. That's it for me. Any questions?
Okay, hey Dan, this is Phil here. That was an excellent presentation, and thank you very, very much for it.
You're welcome. Thanks. Got a little tongue-tied a couple times, but I appreciate it.
Hey, everyone, first of all, take a look at the slide that's in front of you because it has Dan's contact information on it, and make sure you copy down that contact information so you can reach out to Dan at any time. We have a couple questions that are in, and for those who have questions, please enter them into the chat room, and I'll make sure to ask the question of Dan. So here's a question that came in. Every brand is expected to promote their products. Isn't this just a cost of doing business?
Yes and no. And this is kind of what I was getting at before. There are some promotions, Phil, that are good, that make sense, that are valuable, that are going to help you out. For example, I would never ever pay on anything that doesn't provide any proof of performance. In other words, something that scans through the register, that's proof of performance. So the answer to the question is, by understanding all the components of trade marketing and being able to identify what makes sense to your brand within your budget, et cetera, and then leveraging that with the retailer. Say that was an example that I gave earlier, where if you say, look, I can go deeper on 2 or 3 promotions a year, but I can't do 8. And this is why this makes sense. And by the way, on these promotions, I can help you gain a higher lift, et cetera. That's where you need to focus your time and your effort. Instead of just blindly accepting anything the retailer or the distributor or whoever says, you need to understand what are the components that help drive sales for not only for you, but for your retail partner.
Okay. I'm repeatedly told that I must participate in every promotional program retailers and distributors have. It's contrary to what you're saying. Why is that?
Well, bottom line is the retailers want you to succeed. They want to know that if they put your product on their shelf, that they're going to grow reasonable profits and that have a competitive advantage in their market. If they effectively put you out of business because they're trying to squeeze every dollar out of you, rather than try to create strategies that help them remain relevant, help them remain more competitive, then that's not effective for either one of you. And this is where you need to have that symbiotic partnership with retailers. One of the things that I remember years ago we talked about was account penetration. And I'm shocked by how many people today that I talk to, sales professionals, even category management professionals, don't have a schematic for the retailers that they call on. They don't have the contact information from anyone beyond the category manager or the buyer, okay? They also need to have, in my opinion, information or insights into who are all the people that help get the product on the store shelf, the people in the distribution center, et cetera. My point is this: the easier you can make it for the retailer to say yes to your product, yes to your promotion, and then help guide that retailer to drive sustainable sales with your brand, that's what they need. And so by helping the retailer remain relevant, that's how you get a voice, and then at that point you can leverage it to say, here's what makes sense for me in terms of promoting versus just throwing money at the wind. And this is, by the way, one of the key reasons most brands fail, and this is one of the key reasons why most promotions are ineffective.
Okay.
Does that help?
It does. It does. Many brands have brokers that manage their trade management. It's part of the contract. Shouldn't we just let them handle it?
Yes and no. I think that having a broker do that for you is a great resource. However, as I mentioned, I believe that brands need their own strategy, need to manage their own strategy, own their own strategy. What I mean by that, Phil, is that you need to know how this stuff works. And you need to be able to understand what's involved in trade marketing. Handing your keys to someone else to manage your business is not an effective way to grow it, in my opinion. So, there's a love-hate relationship between brokers and the brands. And I know that there's some brokers on this call and they go, oh no, I don't want to hear that. But the reality is this: a lot of brands have an unrealistic expectation of what their broker partners can and will do for them. And that's a lack of communication on both parts. So what I'm getting at is if the brand can be closely involved and closely tied to the trade marketing, and then helping their retail broker, their broker partner, execute on their behalf, I think is the best strategy. And then more importantly, a lot of brands don't use the same broker across every single retailer and every single channel. And so at that point, you've got a disconnected strategy that isn't consistent. And you certainly don't want to be promoting in two different stores at different times within different channels at different price points, because that just kind of defeats the purpose, or I should say at the same time. Does that make sense?
It does. So definitely stay involved and take a leadership role, especially here, even if you're working with a broker.
Right.
Okay. Retailers tell me that they are not interested in anything beyond their template. How do you suggest I change that?
I love that question. All retailers, by the way, I used to design a lot of the templates that a lot of retailers used to use, a lot of the templates that you as brands were expected to fill out. And the reason I share this with you is because those templates are designed to make it easy for the retailer to understand what's going on between all the different categories. It systematizes things. It makes it easy for them to go in and say, well, here's what's going on in dog food versus baby food, et cetera. But that doesn't give the retailer any insights beyond that. So as you begin to know the retailer, develop that personal relationship with them, that's where you can help guide the retailer to do more, to think more strategically, to be different than their competition. Savvy retailers want to compete more effectively, as I said. And those canned top line templated reports that they ask you to fill out, while they're a good starting point, they don't include that additional information. So this is where you need to help the retailer understand that you can provide more value to them than just providing a bunch of canned reports, to basically tell them what they already know. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Another one came in, and it's about an agency working. I hired an agency to do all the strategy work. I consider them to be the experts. Don't they automatically do this for me?
Yes and no. Again, this is your brand, this is your baby, and love them or I know good brokers, I know bad brokers, I know good consultants, I know bad consultants, good doctors, bad doctors, etc. No broker, no retailer, no agency out there can possibly be an expert in your brand the way that you are, the way you should be. And so by just simply handing the keys to someone else and saying, here, you figure it out, you lose that that connectivity to your end consumer. And so my point is this: if you can help guide the agency, the broker, et cetera, to understand who that core consumer is, why they're unique, and why the strategy that they need to apply is unique or different from the strategies they apply to other categories, well, then that's a good thing. But the reality is, because of efficiencies, a lot of the brokers, a lot of the agencies, et cetera, tend to have somewhat cookie cutter approaches. Now, this is great because this makes it easier for them to replicate those strategies across multiple brands. But the challenge is that going to accurately reflect the way you sell your product? And this goes back to canned top line reports, or what I call push button category management. If you walk into a retailer and you say, here's how my brand's doing in terms of velocity, and you only focus on velocity, then you're missing all the things that are driving that velocity. Are you over promoting? Or maybe your product is something that people are has gone viral. What's causing your numbers to grow up to be what they are. So then if you take that and you look at contribution, for example, then that adds more context to that. The same holds true for agencies and your broker. How do you help them? How do you help guide them to drive sustainable sales? Again, I believe that this needs to remain in-house. And then I need to believe that you need to leverage those strategies with your agencies and brokers. Now, I'll help them, have them be involved in the process, absolutely. But I still think that you need to own this in-house. Does that help?
Oh yeah, yeah, that's an excellent response, and it certainly talks to the importance of staying on top of your own mission, even though you're working with brokers and agencies.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, they can be a tremendous benefit if you leverage them right, if you use them right. But you get what you pay for, and again, it's if you're not going to do the extra work, if you're not going to do your homework, don't expect to pass the test, right? So how do you expect a retailer? I mean, how do you expect a broker or an agency to go in and do the work on your behalf if you're not helping them succeed on your behalf? Is kind of what I'm getting at.
sure, sure. Uh, Here's one. I'm a small brand, and I can't afford to spend a lot of money hiring experts. How do I take advantage of these types of strategies?
That's another great question. There's so many great resources out there. There are networking groups. My podcast, my website, the YouTube channel, they're dedicated to be a resource for brands. On the podcast, for example, I've had Phil Limpert, the supermarket guru. I've had the who's who in the natural channel on it. In addition to that, I've had thought leaders across other industries about branding, about marketing, about category management, about getting your product into retail, about retail execution, you name it. And the point is this, and there are other great podcasts too, but the point is this, is that's a great starting place. And there are so many rich insights that you can get there. Now, one of the things, Phil, that's great about Natural is that when you go to the networking events, for example, Naturally, Boulder, et cetera, we're a community and we're all engaged in helping to support each other because we all realize that with the rising tide, we all succeed. And so leverage those strategies, leverage those groups to help you grow and succeed in your brand.
Okay, that's good. All right, Dan, that's the last of the questions that have come in. If anybody has a question, please enter it now, or we'll probably bring this one to conclusion. We'll give it just a second more to see if anything else comes in. Dan, do you have any closing thoughts that you'd like to share with the audience?
More, just essentially, first of all, I just want to say thanks again for the opportunity for the CMA reaching out to me and for you guys being such a great partner. I love putting together content with you guys and being a part of what you're doing. I think it's an incredibly important mission. And like I keep saying, one of the things that I think we need to do as an industry is we need to leverage these strategies more strategically than just relying on push button category management. There's so much rich information, so many great opportunities, and being able to leverage the strategies that I've used certainly throughout my career, strategies to help get small disruptive brands on the shelf, strategies to help retailers better understand who their core customers are, strategies to better help brands and retailers promote more effectively to gain sustainable sales and whatnot. So just thank you to you and to the entire organization and for everyone for showing up.
All right, well, that's great. We don't have any additional questions that have come in. So everybody, this was a great presentation we listened to. Dan's got two more that'll be coming up, so make sure to keep an eye out for the promotional messaging that we'll have on those, and join us when Dan is presenting again. Dan, thank you very much. Excellent presentation, and look forward to continuing to work with you as you continue to support our mission with the CMA and CIMA organizations.
Likewise, thank you.
All right.